And now on the line is Pat Quinn. Pat is the co-founder of Liffey Sound FM, and I'm talking to Pat today largely in his capacity as the treasurer of CRAOL, because CRAOL are 25 years old this year. Pat, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much, Darren. Delighted to be part of your program and also to talk about this 25-year booklet. But just to come back, you mentioned about co-founder of Liffey Sound. That's true. I and about three or four other people 21 years ago founded Liffey Sound. It's still there, and we have 40 volunteers. I'm the only one left of the origin of the species, so to speak. A lot of my colleagues who started with me are gone, but then a few came a few years later who are still there with me anyway. But also I have to thank, I am on air to thank Kieran Murray and Jack Byrne for their inspiration 21 years ago to help us along the way. So I have great admiration for both of them. And it's really been fantastic what we've been doing. And in relation to being treasurer of CRAOL, well, that's a journey in itself. I became part of the committee in 2014, and I became treasurer in 2016. And I'm actually due to retire this year, please God, because I think it's time I went and somebody else stepped in. But I know I've enjoyed my years with CRAOL and working with the likes of Jack and other people in that particular area. And of course, I work with your colleague Sally Galliana, who is my bookkeeper at CRAOL as well. So it's been a great pleasure. There you are.
Yeah, just speaking of Liffey Sound, I was looking at your Facebook yesterday, and you have over 4,000 followers on Facebook, so that's a pretty good number, isn't it?
It is very good, yes. I didn't even know that myself because I don't follow Facebook that much, except when Teresa's program goes out on a Sunday, I usually use the Facebook page to announce who the author is and the stations that actually take her program. There's, including Near FM, there are 10 stations in the network that actually take Teresa's program Bookline every week. So which is great in itself, really. And she loves doing the program every week because she has a keen interest in books and has been at it for the past 10 to 12 years. Now, she's only been interviewing authors for the past 8 or 9 years, but up to that period before she started that, she was reviewing books, so so a lot of people listening.
I was going to ask you something there, but I think you've kind of already touched upon it as regards the development of CRAOL. But there are a couple of other programs as well as your wife's program. Radio and Liffey have a program, Scotland and Shockton. It's broadcast for, I think it's a half an hour or an hour every week, and that's broadcast on a lot of the community radio stations in Ireland as well, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, I believe so. And it's good to have that indeed, and to have Irish. I think it's important that we have Irish language programs now. Teresa, my wife, she is a kind of a Gaeilgeoirí herself. Now she doesn't have an Irish program, but she's actually on the BAI committee for Irish language. She's representing CRAOL on that committee, and she's been there now for almost a year, working through getting stations to get Irish programs together. Because there's not enough of the stations in the network who are doing Irish-based programs. Though, like as you say, they can pick up programs from Radio na Liffey, which is great to have. But it'd also be nice to have their own programs as well,
And there's another program as well I'm interested in. It's only started, I believe, in the last year or so, a CRAOL News Desk. Can you tell our listeners today what that is?
Okay, well, every station, of course, Near actually look after the CRAOL News Desk for us, where they gather in news items from the various stations around the country, including Liffey Sound. And I think it's a marvellous thing to have. Now, I know Kieran Murray is involved with it, and your team there at Near put all the bits and pieces together. But what they're trying to do is to encourage more stations to become involved in that, because I think news gathering is an important item, and particularly in the years ahead, there's so many changes in media, as you know yourself, Darren, and we have this the commissioned the new media commission, which is coming into force, and will replace the BAI. And there's going to be a lot of bursaries for new journalists. And we have a lot of great young people out there who are keen on journalism. And I think a community radio, we could give them that chance. But I've always supported the idea of the CRAOL news desk. There is a lot of work in it, there's no doubt about that, and it needs a lot of funding. But long may it continue.
Yeah. I'm involved also with Radio and Liffey as well, and occasionally occasionally I have an interview on Scotland Shockton and on CRAOL News Desk.
Oh, very good.
Usually it isn't in the same week, but like over the last year or so with CRAOL, I've got a handful of interviews on the CRAOL News Desk, and going back, I'm involved with Radio and Liffey over 10 years, and occasionally as well I have an interview on Scotland Shockton. So it's I love the way when my interviews are broadcast on those programs. They're broadcast. On set like I don't know if they're broadcast on every community radio station in Ireland, but they're broadcast on a lot of them, aren't they?
I'm sure they are. No, I mean, I don't know. I'm only familiar with our own program, Bookline, which goes to 10 community stations, plus then ourselves. That's 11 stations that take Bookline every week. And I know some of the stations, including your own, actually repeat the program, which is great for our authors. Now, also, poor Tom McSweeney down in Cork, the guy who does all the kind of the Seascapes program, he goes out once a month. And Tom, of course, was the ex-RTE reporter, and he's involved with the community radio Youghal for a long, long time. The program he puts out is basically a maritime program, This Island Nation. I think he takes it as well, and it's an absolutely fabulous program. Of course, then Tom, he's a great man for things in relation to the sea because of the fact we're surrounded by water. And I think Tom also, some of his own family are involved in the Irish Navy as well. I think one of his family is a commander in one of the naval ships in Youghal. So his program goes out to quite a few stations. I don't know how many, but I think it's important for the stations in the CRAOL network to syndicate their programs, because a lot of our stations, like yourselves and Liffey Sound, a lot have very, very good programs, and it's unfortunate that they don't network enough. And I know at CRAOL level, and particularly Mary Lennon, our coordinator, has been trying to encourage stations to syndicate their programs, because I'm sure there are people from the different parts of the country living in Dublin would like to hear what's going on in their local area. So the good thing to do is for community radio services to syndicate their programs, and it doesn't cost them anything, because there's so much great technology out there that you can move stuff from place to place without any hindrance whatsoever, and I'd go along with that.
Occasionally it happens. I know an interview. Well, generally on Near FM, I think most interviews are podcasts. At least the ones that the presenter wants to get podcasts, they usually podcast themselves, I think. But occasionally, I notice anyway with the Osquelga interviews on Near FM, one could slip through and it's not podcast. I try to kind of look after that, but I work from home most of the time, so I'm not in the station. So. I have a colleague on one of the other Irish language programs, and I podcast his stuff. But if you think about it, like over the years, the program I'm with the Mucka Irish language program near FM is broadcast, I believe, over around or more than 20 years, and over the years there have been a good few interviews that just the presenter hasn't asked for them to do podcast, It isn't a question of Near FM weren't prepared to podcast them, but the presenter didn't even think of it. So
I know exactly, yeah. Now I know with Bookline is actually podcast, because what we do, what Teresa does is after she's interviewed the author, the podcast of the program goes to the author, but it also goes to the publisher. And that really spreads the word about community radio, and particularly Liffey Sound. So every week, John White, who's our engineer, once the programs have gone out to the stations, then he sends the podcast to the author, who appreciates it very much, and to the publisher as well. So, like Teresa has something like, I think, 7 or 8 different publishers who send her in books. and she has built that rapport over. So the podcast, yeah, I'd agree, is an important item within the radio network system, for people to hear. And, so it's always something you can look back on. And as I say, in our case, the authors really appreciate getting the podcast, and it means it's good for them, for their publicity as well. Particularly, but like there are so many Irish authors. Like, I mean, a lot of them wouldn't be in the big guns area, so to speak, like the John Boynes of this world, or Maeve Binchy got because of her part of the world, but they're still there. And there are an awful lot of women authors out there as well, so it's good that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like a very interesting program. Personally, I don't really read fiction books. A lot of people who read fiction books. I'm interested in more kind of sociology, history, politics, that kind of, and spirituality as well. But I don't like. Go on, yeah.
She would have not only fiction, but she would actually have social books, or there's a company called Four Course Press there, the chap Anthony Tierney, the general manager, and a lot of books coming out there would be, say, for instance, a chap named Joe Brady, who is a suburban planner, and he has written 2 books about Dublin way back in the housing in Dublin way back in the 1800s, and then Dublin in the more modern era. And also, just recently, there's one going out this coming Sunday about Lansdowne Football Club, Lansdowne Rugby Club. Chap wrote about they're 150 years old, So, and she'd also do children's books as well, and she'd also do books Oscuelga. So it's not just So the variety is there anyway, So we're both kept very busy. Like, we're just the two of us here at home. Our 2 sons are both married, and of course away from home. So it's just the 2 of us there. We can get on with it or whatever.
That's great. Yeah. Can you tell me how many community radio stations are there in Ireland, Pat? The north and south, I mean.
Yeah, well, there within the Republic of Ireland, of course, which is our jurisdiction, we have 21 fully licensed stations, and we have 15 what we call temporary stations, who basically would have a 100-day license, which allows them to broadcast at weekends, and it gives them kind of an idea after a year that they feel like applying for a 10-year license, they can do so. Of course, the process is totally different. But so, in essence, like there are 35, when you think of it, 36 community stations around the state, with around 2,500 to 3,000 volunteers, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's only the past couple of years, and Jack Byrne will bear me out this, that the government have recognised the fact that we are the 3rd force of media in this country, and we are a powerful media, because like yourselves, we're all working in the community for the good of the community. Now, we have nothing against RTE, who's a national broadcaster, or commercial stations. They all have a job to do, and they do it, and that's fine. We have a job to do as a community service to link in with our community people in our areas that we are broadcasting in. And people are amazed at the fact we have volunteers working in radio and not getting paid for what they do. And I said, well, it's an experience in itself. I mean, when I came into community radio 21 years ago, initially I was working with the Irish Catholic newspaper as not as a reporter, but I worked in sales and distribution, and I have been interviewed on RT Radio and some of the other commercial stations about the paper. And that kind of grabbed my interest in radio, and that's how I started out, the whole idea. I mean, my main profession, well, I've been in different jobs in all my years. I mean, I'm retired from work since I'm 73 now, so I'm 8 years retired from work. But I had a great passion for radio and for doing things, and particularly when I worked in the newspaper. And so it's been good ever since. And people have said to me one time, like, when you're retired from work, do you ever get bored? I said, pardon me? I don't even know what the word means. Because there's so many things to be done, like, and it's a great enjoyment. And, I'm working with all the different people within community radio. And And some of our people, of course, have gone on to greater things, joining commercial stations or RTE or whatever, like, you know. So, yeah.
I don't know if I'm as busy as you, but I love being involved with Near FM Radio and Liffey as well. Even though I do most of my interviews from home and my programs on
Yeah.
Near FM as well, I love the kind of community development side of it. Like I love interviewing people and organisations who don't get a lot of publicity, and the kind of people who appreciate the interviews, because like, there are organisations I believe out there, and like if you give them a call and you tell them you're from, say, whatever community radio station, they kind of put
Yeah. Yeah.
they kind of put their eyes up in the air and go, okay, and they could do the interview, but they don't really care because they don't think there are many listeners, and maybe there aren't. But like there are
I
a
know.
lot, there are a lot of organisations and groups in the community in the different sectors in Ireland and around the world who do appreciate
Yeah.
them, and I think
Yeah.
as well, if the interview is podcast, like if it wasn't for the podcast, and particularly with YouTube, that I do,
Mhm.
like I probably wouldn't be involved with community radio, you know.
No, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
the other thing, saying that Jack Byrne had, and I keep quoting it, when people ask about listenership and stuff like that, I say, look, community radio is a community development organization through the medium of radio. That's what we are. We develop people with new skills, irrespective of who they are, what they are, religion or whatever. I mean, we deal with all kinds of people. We're not there for the glorification, but rather to give people confidence in themselves. And I always say to people, look, you know, you come in and we boost you up. You know, you learn a little bit about how to operate a microphone or research or whatever. And it's to give that person confidence, irrespective of what age they are. And this is, I use it as a community development organization through the medium of radio. We're not there to make a fortune, though we need money, I know, but we're not there to glorify ourselves. We're simply, and you would agree, we're working for our community to give them confidence. And as you already said, the organizations who wouldn't get a hell of a chance of going on RTE or anywhere else, you know, where community radio gives them that emphasis to talk about what to do and the work that to do, which they wouldn't get. Now, again, as I said a few minutes ago, no disrespect to RTE. Going back when I was a child, Radio Ireland, as I would have known it, in a way, it would have been a kind of a community station. But gradually over the years, it went from that to being what it is now. Basically, even though it's a state broadcaster, it's a commercial station because they have advertising on the radio. The guys earning massive salaries in the station, really and truly. And not against these guys getting massive salaries, but we, the taxpayer, have to keep them going through the license fee. You know. And so
it's a very
this is where we come
controversial
in.
issue, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I mean, I as I say, I've no hard words for them. They do what, as I said, they do what they do. We do what we do.
Okay, I won't keep you much longer. Pat, I believe you are in the process of writing a book about CRAOL now, aren't you, at the moment?
Well, this year is the 25th anniversary of the founding of CRAOL by your own Jack Byrne and a few other good people there. And earlier on this year, Jack said to me and another colleague of mine in Dundalk FM, Pat Hamilton, see, you two fellas there could write a book about the history of CRAOL or wherever. I said, thanks very much, Jack. Well, we started working on it. Pat and I started working on it in April. Basically, in fact, it's been published now this week. It's published on Monday. We've been launching it at the CRAOL Failure now this day week. It's a 42-page booklet, but basically what Pat and I had to do was to gather the information from all of our 35 stations, which was a hell of a job. But anyway, between phone calls, Zoom calls, emails, to get the information in, including our esteemed President, Michael D. Higgins, who has actually written a four-page forward for the book.
That's cool.
Fantastic!
Yeah.
Like
it sounds like sounds like huge work went into it, did it?
Well, yeah, but like we were kind of working for the past couple of months and trying to cajole people. And the other thing we did was, and we said that at the CRAOL committee, that we wouldn't look for money from CRAOL to fund the book, that we would get the book self-funded. So what we did was we went to a couple of organisations and offered them a full colour page ad for €500.
That's cool, yeah.
I mean, we did. Now, I won't name the organisation. You'll see them when you see the book. But 6 of them actually came back and said, "Yeah, we go with that for you." But basically means the book will pay for itself. Paul Healy, my colleague in Flirt FM in Galway, the student radio, she's a wonderful graphic designer, and she did all the graphic work for us and put the whole thing together. Once we provided the information, she put the whole thing to colour the whole lot together for us. And our printers, Anglo printers, are in Drogheda. They're actually doing the book and gave us a very good deal. So it was good, really. It was tough work for the two of us, trying to get the information. We were tearing our hairs out at one stage, waiting for people to come back to us and give us the information. And then we did warn people at the beginning we wouldn't put everything in, because if we did, it'd have a 10-volume booklet about CRAOL. So we had to kind of...
If I was writing a book, I'd be lost in that kind of sense with all the information, you know.
Yeah, like we got a lot of the information. Like, no, I say we're grateful to the stations for giving us the information, getting it in, and then to send photographs in as well. So we tried to put as much as we can in, but again, we had to limit it down. But I've seen the proofs of the book, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It's in colour, full colour, A4. With 42 pages in it. So, like Pat and I, like, in a way, we're kind of delighted that we were asked to do it. But it was a tough enough job. I wouldn't like to do it again. But as I pointed out, this book is a historical book. It's 25 years of now, we did a tiny book 5 years ago for the 20th anniversary of community radio. But this book in itself is a sort of a historical book and one for the archives, because it not only mentions the president himself within 4 pages, the BAI, Hubble, Community Foundation of Ireland had ads in it, Active Retirement Ireland, you know, and also the man who chaired the Commission for New Media, Brian McGrath, he said a little bit in it as well. And then some of our own people had little editorial pieces in as well about community radio during COVID, community radio as broadcasting through colleges like, you know, the universities, things like that, you know. So we gathered all that information in and put it together, and it's now printed. So next week we will launch it this week at the Taylor, and we'll be giving out books to the various stations to have, which they in turn can give out to. There'll be enough maybe for to give out to community organisations that they know of. And I know Jack is doing it, distributing the book through email or PDF to all our politicians all over the country, and to go out to them as well to see exactly what CRAOL is about and what the wonderful work that has been carried out by lots of people. There were lots of people at the beginning who are no longer with us, but they were the forebears of community radio in Ireland. And there's a lot of new advances in community, in technology coming up, and that's something CRAOL has to work hard at. I mean, you know, and and Jack, you know, I think it's been wonderful for Jack. Jack has put a huge amount in there. Jack said, "See, I never broadcast on radio, never had a program." He said, "I'm a hustler." And he is. Poor Jack, but Jack is brilliant. And if he hears the interview, he might give it out to me. But no, Jack Byrne and his colleagues really put in something that was absolutely wonderful, and we call it community radio. And the book will celebrate that.
I'd love to be able to get a print copy of the book. Will I be able to get a print copy through the FM, will I?
Oh, you will. Now, we're giving stations, I think, in around 15 to 20 copies for themselves.
Cool.
So you can get a copy there. Put your word in, make sure you get a copy when it comes out.
Oh, yeah. Thanks very much.
But it's a historical book. Now, as I said to somebody, for the next 25 years, I don't think I'll be around for the next 25 years. But it's our people who will continue on community radio, and I think that's important, that it is continuing on. Whatever guise it might be in the future, but it's important to me and to all my colleagues is that we serve our community quite well, and our communities are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Out where I live here in Lucan, our population, believe it or not, Darren. Now I know I'm an outsider myself originally, but I'm living in Lucan now quite a long time, and our population is the size of Waterford City and County.
God.
That's how big we are. And it's expanding day by day by day by day, and huge communities of people from different countries coming to live in the area. It's absolutely massive. As I know where your area. I mean, I was brought up in Artane. I went to school in Artane. I remember moving to Artane when it was countryside, when Coolock was the countryside, before you even had houses up there where the station is. And we moved we lived in the Liberties for a while, and I was quite a small boy. We moved up into Artane, and over the years, up to the time I got married, I mean, I've seen Artane, Coolock develop huge amount all over the years, like, so it's absolutely massive. But Lucan is the same. I mean, Lucan has, in all the years we've lived here, it's just gone out of proportion altogether, a massive community. And that's where the importance of I know I keep emphasizing that community radio comes in, that they will have somewhere to go to talk about themselves, So there you are. That's my story, Darren. So thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Pat.
No, a pleasure, and thank you for contacting me and for the interview. I really appreciate that, indeed. So.
Okay, Pat, we're talking again. Thanks very much.